The wrong wedding. That was what Soraya would remember when she thought about the moment her life shattered and rebuilt itself into something unrecognizable. She had been sent to stand in for her sister at a simple ceremony in the outer provinces, a minor lord, a forgotten estate, a marriage meant to punish her, not elevate her. But the carriage had taken the wrong road. The guards had confused two ceremonies happening on the same day in neighboring regions. And now Soraya stood in the great cathedral of Valdris itself, the stone walls soaring above her like judgment, and realized with dawning horror that the man waiting at the altar was not some minor lord at all. He was the Alpha King. The veil covered her face completely, hiding her terror, hiding the truth that she was not the woman anyone expected. She should run. She should confess. She should fall to her knees and beg for mercy before this deception cost her life. But before Soraya could move, before she could utter a single word, the Alpha King turned to face her fully. His eyes swept over her veiled form. And then he smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just spotted something interesting. "You're exactly where you belong," he said. Soraya's blood turned to ice. She did not understand what those words meant. She did not understand why a king who could have anyone would claim a woman whose face he had never seen. What Soraya did not know was that the Alpha King carried secrets far more dangerous than her own, that he had chosen her precisely because she was wrong, and that the vow he was about to make, the vow to keep her at a distance, to never let her close enough to matter, would prove utterly impossible to keep. The day had begun with violence. Soraya had woken to her father's guards dragging her from bed, their hands rough as they hauled her down the corridor. She had not been given time to dress properly or ask questions. Her father, Lord Aldrich of House Vantris, had stood waiting in the great hall with a wedding gown draped over his arm. "Your sister has fled," he had said, his voice flat with rage. "She was supposed to marry Lord Harwick of the Eastern Province today. The contracts are signed. Linnea has vanished like a coward in the night." Soraya had stared at him. Linnea was gone. Her perfect, legitimate sister had actually run away rather than submit to their father's arrangement. "You will take her place," Lord Aldrich had declared. "You will wear the veil, you will speak the vows, and you will finally be useful to this family." Soraya had wanted to refuse, but she had learned long ago that defiance only brought pain. So she had allowed the guards to dress her and climbed into the carriage that would take her to her doom. But the carriage had traveled too long, too far. When Soraya finally peered through the curtains, she saw not a modest provincial estate, but the towering spires of the capital city. "There must be some mistake," she had told the guards. "Lord Harwick's estate is in the Eastern Province." The guards had exchanged uncertain glances. "Two ceremonies were scheduled for today," one admitted. "Lord Harwick's and the King's. The orders said the cathedral. This is the cathedral." This was the cathedral of the eternal moon, where kings took their queens. Before Soraya could protest, the doors swung open and she was pushed forward into a cathedral so vast it stole her breath. Hundreds of candles blazed from crystal chandeliers. The pews were packed with nobility in silks and velvet. And at the far end of the aisle stood a man who could only be the Alpha King himself. Soraya froze. Every instinct screamed at her to run. The king was supposed to be marrying Princess Vivica, whose beauty was legendary, whose bloodline was impeccable. Not Soraya. Never Soraya. But the crowd had turned. The music had swelled, and her feet began to carry her forward because there was nowhere else to go. The Alpha King watched her approach. He was impossibly tall, with dark hair past his shoulders and eyes the color of a winter storm. Pale gray, almost silver, and utterly cold. His face was beautiful in the way ice was beautiful, sharp and perfect and completely without warmth. She reached the altar. Her hands shook so badly the bouquet trembled. "You're late," the king said quietly. Soraya said nothing. What could she possibly say? The silence stretched. Then the Alpha King stepped closer, leaning down until his lips nearly brushed her veil. "You're not Vivica," he murmured, so quietly only she could hear. "Your scent is wrong. Your height is wrong. Everything about you is wrong." Soraya felt the ground tilt beneath her feet. "So tell me, little imposter, who exactly are you?" She could not answer. Her throat had closed completely. But the Alpha King straightened and faced the crowd. "The ceremony will proceed," he announced. "This woman will be my wife." Chaos erupted. Voices shouted in confusion and outrage. But the king raised one hand and silence fell instantly. He looked at her with those winter storm eyes. And he smiled again. "You're exactly where you belong," he said. And Soraya understood that she had just been claimed by the most dangerous man in the realm. The ceremony passed in a blur. Soraya spoke when prompted, accepted the ring, and stood frozen as the Alpha King lifted her gloved hand to his lips. He did not remove her veil. He simply offered her his arm and led her back down the aisle through the stunned crowd. In the carriage, alone with him, Soraya finally dared to speak. "Remove the veil," he said before she could. Her hands flew to her face. "Your Majesty, please let me explain first." "Explain what? That you are not Princess Vivica? I knew that the moment you entered. Vivica smells like roses and ambition. You smell like honeysuckle and fear." "Then why did you marry me?" "Because Vivica refused to attend." A muscle twitched in his jaw. "She sent word this morning that she found our arrangement unsuitable. I was left standing at the altar like a fool, and then you appeared. So I was convenient. You were unexpected." His eyes studied her with unsettling intensity. A mystery at precisely the right moment. Soraya explained about her sister, the guard's confusion, the wrong road to the wrong ceremony. For a long moment the king said nothing. Then he laughed, sharp and brief. "Lord Harwick," he repeated. "That ancient lecher who has buried 3 wives? Someone was sending you to him?" "My father. I was to take my sister's place." "And your father did not verify which ceremony his daughter was attending?" "I am not his daughter. Not truly. I am his bastard. He has never cared what became of me." The king fell silent. When he spoke again, something had shifted in his voice. "Remove the veil. I will not ask again." Soraya's hands trembled as she pulled the last pin free. The fabric fell away, and she raised her face to meet his gaze. She was not beautiful. Her features were too sharp, her skin too pale. She was simply ordinary. "You are not what I expected," he said finally. "I am sorry to disappoint you." "I did not say I was disappointed." The carriage rolled through the palace gates. "The marriage will stand," the king announced. "You are now Queen of Valdris. You will have chambers, servants, and all appropriate comforts." "And what do you want in return?" "An heir. Eventually. But beyond that, nothing." Soraya nodded slowly. "I have conditions," he continued. "You will not interfere with the kingdom's running. We will not share chambers. I will visit when necessary for heirs. And you will not attempt to make me love you. This marriage is a contract. I am incapable of love." "Incapable? Is that a choice? Or a condition?" His jaw tightened. "It is not your concern. Do you agree?" Soraya thought of her father's cruelty, of Lord Harwick's dead wives, of every moment she had spent hoping someone might see her as worth keeping. "I agree," she said quietly. "I have learned not to seek things that will never be given." "Then we understand each other. Welcome to your new life, Queen of Valdris." The chambers they gave her were larger than her father's entire house. Soraya stood in the center, overwhelmed by soaring ceilings, velvet furniture, and windows overlooking impossible gardens. Helene, Her head lady-in-waiting was kind and efficient. She explained the wardrobe being prepared, the seamstresses arriving tomorrow, the food that would be brought on silver platters. "You are queen now," Helene said gently. "You need exactly this much and more." By evening, Soraya had explored every corner of her chambers. She was reading by the fire when a knock came. She expected Helene. Instead, a man stepped through the door. Auburn hair, cruel features, contempt in his eyes. "So this is the creature who stumbled into my brother's wedding," he said. "Your brother?" "I am Prince Draven, the king's younger brother and heir, until you produce a whelp for him." He stepped closer. Soraya held her ground. "I know what you are," Draven continued. "Soraya Vantris, bastard daughter of a minor lord, wolfless, worthless. I did not ask to be here." "No, you stumbled in like a lost lamb." He leaned close. "I do not know what game you are playing, but I will discover it. And when I do, I will ensure my brother sees you for exactly what you are. A fraud. A parasite. A stain on the throne." He left with a final warning. "Enjoy your borrowed time, little queen." Soraya sank into a chair, her legs suddenly weak, a hostile prince who wanted her destroyed. She was still shaken when another knock came. Softer this time. The door opened to reveal a woman so beautiful Soraya's breath caught. Golden hair, summer blue eyes, silk gown the color of cream. "I am Lady Vivica," she said sweetly. "I believe you are wearing the wedding gown meant for me." "I thought you refused to attend." Vivica laughed. "Is that Calder's version? I simply chose not to marry a man incapable of love." "What do you mean?" "The Alpha King is cursed. Has been since birth. He cannot feel warmth, joy, love. His heart is frozen solid." Vivica's smile sharpened. "You will hope. You will dream. You will try to reach him. And when you fail, I will be waiting to take my rightful place." "You want to be queen." "I want what I was promised. Calder's advisors will realize their mistake, and when they come to me, you will be disposed of." She tilted her head. "I wonder how long you will last." Soraya met her gaze. "I have survived worse than cold hands." Uncertainty crossed Vivica's face. Then she swept from the room. Soraya stared into the flames. A hostile prince, a scheming rival, a cursed husband. But as she sat in the firelight, something stirred in her chest. Not fear, determination. She would not run. She would not break. Whatever secrets the Alpha King carried, she would discover the truth. She had no other choice. 3 days passed before Soraya saw the king again. 3 days of elegant isolation, surrounded by servants who treated her like glass. On the 4th morning, Helene arrived with news. "The coronation is tonight. You are to be formally presented as Queen of Valdris." The great hall was a cathedral unto itself. Black marble columns, obsidian floors reflecting hundreds of candles, and packed with nobles whose expressions ranged from curiosity to contempt. Soraya wore midnight blue embroidered with silver thread. Her hair was pinned with sapphires. She looked, for the first time, like someone who mattered. The herald's voice rang out. "Her Majesty, Queen Soraya of House Valdris." She walked through the parting crowd toward the raised dais where Calder waited in black, beautiful and dangerous and inhuman. "Kneel," he said quietly. Soraya knelt on the cold obsidian floor. Calder descended with a silver crown set with pale blue stones. He administered the vows, and she answered each one clearly. When he placed the crown upon her head, it was heavy and cold. "Rise and take your place beside me." She climbed the steps and turned to face the court. "Behold your queen," Calder announced. "Any who question her right question me. Any who move against her move against the crown itself. This woman is under my protection until my last breath." The words were formal, expected, but something in his voice sounded almost like a promise. The court bowed. Even Draven, even Vivica. For one moment Soraya felt what it might be like to belong. Then she caught Draven's eyes rising from his bow. The hatred there was absolute. "This is not over," his gaze said. "This is only the beginning." Soraya lifted her chin. Then, "Let it begin." A week passed before the king summoned her. The message arrived on cream paper in precise handwriting. "Come to me at midnight. The door will be unlocked." Soraya prepared for hours. The maids bathed her, brushed her hair, dressed her in thin white cotton. At midnight she approached the connecting door. It swung open at her touch. The king's chambers were dark, decorated in black and silver. The fire cast no warmth. And standing by the window was Calder in a simple white shirt, his hair loose, his feet bare. He looked younger, almost human. "You understand why you are here," he said, "to provide you with an heir." "Yes. I will not lie. This will not be pleasant. My touch is cold. My skin is cold. Everything about me is cold. You will find no tenderness here." He stopped an arm's length from her. "May I touch you?" Soraya asked. The question surprised him. After a pause, he extended his hands. The cold was immediate and shocking. Not winter's chill, but the cold of ice, of something that should not exist in living flesh. But she did not pull away. "How long has it been like this?" "Always. Since I was born." "And no healer can help?" "There is no healing a curse." "What kind of curse?" "One that cannot be broken." He pulled his hands away. "Do not ask more. There are things I cannot tell you. I am already in danger. Your brother has made that clear." Frost crept across the window glass. The fire dimmed. "He will not touch you," Calder said, his voice darker now. "I will make certain of it." Then his expression smoothed. "Shall we proceed?" Soraya nodded. He was careful, clinical, but also gentle in ways she had not expected. When she gasped at the cold, he paused. When she shivered, he adjusted. He was considerate in a way that made her throat tight. Afterward, he lay beside her without touching. "You did not flee," he said quietly. "I told you I would not." "I did not believe you." She turned to look at him. In the dim light, his profile was sharp as a blade, beautiful and utterly alone. "I am not what you expected," she said. "No, you are not." He rose and dressed, but before leaving he paused. "Thank you," he murmured, "for being gentle with me." Then he was gone, and Soraya lay awake, thinking about the tiny crack in the ice surrounding his heart. The king did not send for her again. Days turned into weeks. The door between their chambers remained locked. Soraya threw herself into learning the court's ways, studying histories, memorizing noble alliances. She saw Draven watching her at functions. Vivica visited regularly with poison dressed as sympathy. "The king has not visited you in 3 weeks," Vivica observed. "When months pass with no heir announcement, the council will realize you are merely a placeholder." That night, Soraya made a decision. If the king would not come to her, she would go to him. She used the servants' passages Helene had shown her, emerging in his private study. The fire burned low. Papers scattered the desk. She pushed open the door to his bedchamber. Calder stood by the window, staring at moonlit gardens. When he turned, she saw something was wrong. His face was paler than usual, his eyes shadowed. Frost crept across the floor beneath his bare feet. "You should not be here," he said. "And yet here I am." "Something is happening to you." "Nothing is happening. Return to your chambers." "No." She stepped closer despite the biting cold. "You have avoided me for weeks. I am your wife. I have a right to know what is wrong." He laughed bitterly and stepped into the moonlight. The frost was not just on the floor. It crept up his arms like vines. His fingertips were blue. "The curse is getting worse," he said flatly. Every year the cold spreads further. One day there will be nothing left of me, just ice and emptiness. Is there no way to stop it? None. He turned away. That is why I have kept my distance. The cold is dangerous. It spreads to everything I touch, everyone I care about. So you push me away to protect me. I push you away because I have no choice. Soraya moved toward him and took his frozen hand. The cold burned like fire, but she did not let go. I spent my entire life being pushed away, she said quietly. I will not let you do the same. For a long moment neither moved. Then Calder's fingers tightened around hers. Stay, he whispered. Just for tonight. She led him to the bed and wrapped herself around him, pressing her warmth against his frozen skin. Gradually, impossibly, the frost began to recede. Calder pulled her closer, his breath ragged. How are you doing this? He breathed. I do not know, but I am not going to stop. They lay tangled together as hours passed. And when dawn broke, his skin was warmer than she had ever felt it. He looked at her with eyes no longer quite so frozen. What are you? He whispered. I do not know, but perhaps we can find out together. 2 months passed. Soraya learned the rhythms of her new existence. Days navigating court politics, nights in Calder's arms, fighting back the cold. The king had changed. His eyes sought her across rooms. His hand found hers beneath tables. He spoke to her as someone whose presence he craved. One evening, as they dined privately, Soraya told him, I am with child. Calder went still. Then he crossed the distance between them, fell to his knees, and pressed his palm against her stomach. You are certain? The healer confirmed it today. A child. Joy filled his voice. He pulled her close. Thank you. Then he looked at her with something that terrified him. I need to tell you something I should have said long ago. He struggled for words. I know I said I could not feel, but these past months with you have been... He stopped. I do not know how to say this. Then show me. He kissed her desperately, the kiss of a man who had been drowning and finally found air. When he pulled away, they were both trembling. I love you, Calder said. The words came out raw and broken. I have loved you since the moment you refused to run from my cold. I have been terrified to admit it because I know what happens when I love. What happens? The curse responds to love. The more I feel, the stronger it becomes. If I love you completely, the cold will consume me entirely. Then love me in pieces. Love me carefully. I cannot love you carefully. His voice cracked. You are already everything to me. Then Soraya felt it, the temperature dropping, frost spreading across his skin. No, she gasped. Not now. Calder's eyes went wide with pain. His hand flew to his chest. Soraya, I am sorry. I should not have let myself feel... He collapsed. Calder. She caught him as he fell. His skin was ice, colder than ever. Frost crept across his face. Help! She screamed. The king is dying. They surrounded him with braziers. It made no difference. The cold radiated from him, freezing everything it touched. Soraya sat beside him for 3 days, holding his frozen hand, refusing to leave. On the second day, Helene had sent riders to the neighboring kingdom, seeking a witch powerful enough to understand ancient curses. The woman arrived on the 3rd night but said she needed time to study the magic before attempting anything. On the 4th day, Prince Draven came. Such a tragedy, he said with false sympathy. The king, felled by his own curse. Leave. With my brother incapacitated, someone must rule. And since you are merely a consort, that responsibility falls to me. He is not dead. He might as well be. Draven moved closer. Look at him. He is already a corpse. Soraya turned to face him. What do you want? The throne. His smile was cruel. My brother was never meant to rule. He reached toward her, and she saw the glint of a hidden blade tucked in his sleeve. Two birds with one stone, Draven murmured, the bastard queen and the bastard heir. Something inside Soraya ignited. Heat exploded from her body in a wave that sent Draven staggering. The blade clattered from his hand. The frost on the windows melted. "What is this?" Draven gasped, shielding his face. "What are you?" "I do not know," Soraya said. And her voice was different now. Deeper, resonant with something ancient. "But you will not touch my husband or my child." "Guards!" Draven shrieked. "The queen has gone mad." "Enough." Soraya turned. Standing in the doorway, supported by Helene and the ancient woman in blue robes, was Calder. Pale, frost-touched, but alive. "You," he breathed. "It was you, all along." The ancient woman stepped forward. "I am Marin, the witch who cast the curse upon the kings of Valdris 200 years ago. Witches of my order live far longer than ordinary humans, which is how I still survive." Soraya's blood turned to fire. "You did this to him?" "I did what I was paid to do by a man who wanted his descendants never weakened by love." Marin's voice was heavy with regret. "But there is something I did not anticipate. Something I thought extinct." "What?" "You." Marin studied her intently. "You are a sunwolf, the last of your kind." "Sunwolves are a myth." "They were hunted 300 years ago, but the bloodline survived, hidden, dormant. Your mother was the last surviving daughter of that line. She hid among servants to escape those who would kill her. And she bore a child with golden fire in her veins." "My father knew?" "He was paid by Prince Draven to suppress your power. The binding placed on you as a child made you undetectable, untraceable. Draven believed you were neutralized forever. He never knew your location, never expected you to stumble into the king's wedding." Everything clicked into place. The wrong road. The confused guards. The accident that had changed everything. "Can I break the curse?" Soraya demanded. "Perhaps. But first, you must confront the one who bound you. Your father holds the seal." Soraya looked at Calder, dying in his frozen bed. "I will do whatever it takes." The journey to her father's estate took 3 days. 3 days while Calder remained suspended between life and death. Soraya traveled with guards and Marin, who insisted on accompanying her. The Vantris estate looked smaller than she remembered. Meaner. She walked through the front doors and found her father in the great hall. Lord Aldrich rose, his face twisted with fury. "You dare return here? I dare to demand the truth about my mother. I dare to demand you release the binding, and I dare to hold you accountable for every lie." Aldrich laughed nervously. "Your mother was mad, raving about sunwolves and destiny. It was the truth, and you knew it." Soraya stepped closer. "You sold me to Prince Draven. You took gold to suppress my power. I did what was necessary to protect this family. You did what you were paid to do." Marin's voice cut through. "I have traced the payments." Then another figure emerged from the shadows. Soraya's sister Linnea, but something was wrong. Her eyes were too bright, her smile too sharp. Around her neck hung a pendant identical to Marin's. "Hello, little sister," Linnea said. "I was wondering when you would figure it out. You bound me? Our mother taught me before she died. She wanted me to protect you." Linnea shrugged. "But then I met Draven. He offered me a crown when he took the throne. He tried to kill me. My child." "Loose ends." Linnea raised her hands, shadows gathering. "Without your power, you are nothing." She hurled the shadows at Soraya. But as Soraya fell, something ancient awakened inside her. Golden flames exploded from her body, incinerating the shadows, filling the hall with blinding light. "The binding," Soraya said, her voice resonant with generations of power. "I reject it." The binding shattered. Power flooded through her veins like molten gold. She was burning, blazing, becoming something more than human. Linnea screamed and fled. The guards pursued. Soraya turned to her cowering father. "You will answer for your crimes, but not today." She strode from the hall and mounted her horse, riding toward the capital with fire in her blood and hope in her heart. The palace was in chaos when Soraya arrived. From the king's chambers came cold so intense that ice had formed on the corridor walls. Calder lay completely encased in ice. His eyes were closed. His chest did not move. "Leave us," Soraya commanded. Alone with her dying husband, she climbed onto the bed and pressed her body against his frozen form. "I found the truth," she whispered. "I know what I am now, and I am not going to let you die." She reached for the fire inside her. Golden flames erupted, surrounding them in a cocoon of light and heat. The ice began to melt, but the curse fought back. "I love you," she gasped. "I love your coldness and your silence and your terrible jokes. I love the way you look at me, like I am the only warm thing in the world." The ice cracked. "I love that you chose me when you could have had anyone. I love that you gave me a home and a reason to believe I am not broken." The ice shattered. "You are mine, Calder. My husband. My king. My heart. And I will burn down the entire world before I let anything take you from me." The fire consumed the curse in a blaze of fury and impossible love. Then, silence. Soraya collapsed against his chest. Her fire had dimmed to embers, but beneath her ear she heard a heartbeat. Strong and steady and warm. "Soraya." She looked up. His eyes were open, gray now, not silver with frost. "You came back. You called me back." His touch was warm, human, alive. "You burned through the curse." They emerged to find Draven captured and Linnea's power exhausted. Lord Aldrich was under arrest. Calder announced to the court that the curse was broken, that Queen Soraya had done what no one believed possible. "I spent my life believing I was incapable of feeling," he told her privately. "You proved me wrong. Perhaps we saved each other." He kissed her before the entire court, and the hall erupted in cheers. The baby came on the first day of spring. "A daughter," Soraya said, cradling the tiny bundle. "We have a daughter." Calder approached reverently, looking at her dark hair and sunrise eyes. "She is perfect. She is warm, like me. The curse will never touch her." He gathered his wife and daughter into his arms. "I never thought I would have this. A wife who loves me, a child who will grow up whole. And yet here we are." Draven faced execution for treason. Linnea was stripped of magic and imprisoned. Lord Aldrich lost his lands, his title, and his freedom. "What shall we name her?" Calder asked. Soraya looked at this miracle born from chaos and love. "Aurelia. It means golden, like the sun, like the fire that saved us." "Perfect." As they sat in the morning light, surrounded by warmth and promise, Soraya finally believed that happy endings were possible. Even for a wolfless girl who had never belonged anywhere, even for a frozen king who had been told he could never love. Especially for them. Thank you for listening to this story. Let me know what you thought. I always read your comments, and they mean more than you know. The wrong wedding. That was what Soraya would remember when she thought about the moment her life shattered and rebuilt itself into something unrecognizable. She had been sent to stand in for her sister at a simple ceremony in the outer provinces. A minor lord, a forgotten estate. A marriage meant to punish her, not elevate her. But the carriage had taken the wrong road. The guards had confused two ceremonies happening on the same day. And now Soraya stood in the great cathedral of Valdris itself, and realized with dawning horror that the man waiting at the altar was the Alpha King. The veil covered her face completely, hiding her terror. She should run, She should confess. But before Soraya could move, the Alpha King turned to face her. His eyes swept over her veiled form, and then he smiled. "You're exactly where you belong," he said. She did not understand what those words meant. She did not understand why a king who could have anyone would claim a woman whose face he had never seen. What Soraya did not know was that the Alpha King carried secrets far more dangerous than her own, that he had chosen her precisely because she was wrong, and that the vow he was about to make, the vow to never let her close enough to matter, would prove utterly impossible to keep.